Let's get started with immediate effect. As promised, we're starting a few minutes past 2, so that just to give time for a couple of other people to get onto this call. Just to introduce myself, my name is Kenneth Ntende. I'm the CEO of MonkeyPesa, and in this webinar, we'll be talking about the sales metrics that every business should be tracking in 2023. This webinar should take about 30 minutes in total, and we have space. In case you have any questions, you can just drop any queries that you may have under the Q&A section, both on your mobile, and the people that are using laptops is also available on the laptops. So yes, let's get started. All right, so as a default, I'm a strong believer in tracking everything that happens within the company. Sometimes a lot can be happening, but because it's happening one small step at a time over a couple of years, you end up not even knowing in the first place that that thing is happening. So I'm a very strong believer in tracking, and among the best departments, the one that I don't compromise on is actually the sales and marketing department. So in this specific webinar, we'll just be diving deep into, yes, it's important to track, but what exactly should we be tracking? Just in a nutshell, the thing about tracking is one, it helps you understand what is going wrong early enough. Sometimes, like I said, you have this small trickle on the roof, and because it's dropping one small drop at a time, you don't necessarily know it's tracking. Over a period of a year, that small trickle that comes down one drop at a time, its impact to your business over a very long time is actually enormous. So it's important that you get to understand what is happening regardless of the level it's happening at. As an example, every business prospects, meaning you're looking for who could possibly be our new customers. Every business follows up with its customers on a day-to-day. Every business tries to close customers. So under each and every one of those dockets, there are different metrics that should be tracked. And it's important that you as a business track and have an understanding of what's happening inside each of those layers within the company. And in this webinar, we're just going to be taking you through each and every one of those things. But before we, of course, go ahead, let me just tell you a bit about MonkeyPesa. MonkeyPesa is an all-in-one sales, marketing, and customer support software. It's currently being used by over 500 businesses at the moment, exclusively in Africa. And for many of the metrics that we're going to be talking about in this, they're automatically tracked by the MonkeyPesa CRM software. So for some of these, we're going to dive deep down even into understanding what is the formula behind that thing that we're talking about. And many of these formulas are automatically curated within the MonkeyPesa CRM. We'll still take you through how you can analyze and visualize these sales metrics inside the MonkeyPesa CRM, so that as opposed to you manually curating and coming up with formulas in Excel for you to track these metrics, you literally have a simple dashboard that all these metrics that could be easily tracked by. So yes, in a nutshell, MonkeyPesa provides sales, marketing, and customer support software. And if you want to know more, you can visit us on monkeypesa.com. There are a ton of details of everything about sales on the website. All right. So to get us started, the first thing we'll address is, why should you be tracking metrics? The first thing you need to be tracking, the main reason as to why you need to be tracking these metrics, is because it gives you understanding of what is happening within your business. The bulk of entrepreneurs and business people and company reps tend to just focus on what has happened at the end of the funnel, meaning how many sales have we got, what is the value of those sales. But truth be told, that is not where the trick is. The trick for every business owner is to try and understand, what have we failed? I mean, out of every sales cycle, The normal sales rep, according to global standards, closes only about 9% of all the leads that they get within a given month. Now, the goal of this is to try and understand not what has been closed, but rather what have we failed to achieve. How many leads have we got, and what are the reasons behind the failure for us to close these leads? And by you just understanding and opening up some of those metrics, that's where you pick up the answers of what exactly has gone wrong. The second thing is, of course, it gives you insight about how each and every sales rep is performing. Truth be told, as a default, people are sales people. I mean, at the end of the day, they are going to, once you talk to them, they are going to sell to you, meaning they're going to give you the perspective of how things are going. This is failed for this reason, and they're going to sell to you some reason. So if you depend on the information they are giving you, sometimes you don't get a broader picture, because at the end of the day, these are smooth talkers. So you're not going to get true context of how they are performing by literally listening to them. So it's important you have a system in place where you can track some of the data that is coming out. Some of the data that is coming out of whatever they are saying. And this is the data you benchmark on to make the decisions. And the third thing is to help you gain a bit of an understanding of what is happening in terms of company morale. Because sometimes a sales rep was doing well in Jan, then it comes to June, and they're not necessarily at their best. So it's important that you track these metrics and these patterns just to give you context of, do you know what, this person was doing well at a given point in time. Why aren't they doing well right now? So yes, the first thing, the final thing is it gives you a bit of context when you're making decisions for your business. Sometimes having data as simple as what is the main source of leads for our business helps you decide of, do you know what, if in your head you might think Instagram is bringing you the most leads, whereas something as small as you tracking where the leads are coming from would give you context of, do you know what, actually it's LinkedIn that is helping us gather more leads. So why not direct more resources towards LinkedIn? So yes, by you having these metrics in place, you fully get a picture of what exactly you should be working on and where exactly you should focus your resources as a business. So yes, those are the 4 main reasons as to why you should be tracking more metrics, especially from the sales side. And the next segment we're addressing is, of course, the do's and don'ts of analytics. The number one do is don't track too many analytics. Otherwise, you'll get the analytics burn. It gets overwhelming for your brain. So just pick out a few, but on point analytics. A second one is don't track very few analytics. Some people focus on just 2, meaning they track how much revenue have we made this month, and what is the average basket, but those are really not the best. They don't give you context of what is failing, what is not working. So it's important that you get to understand, track not too few metrics. The third is have a central dashboard that you occasionally look at. It's important that every once in a while, go back to this centralized place and use that location, use that place as your home. Every week, check in and check the CRM and track and say, okay, how is sales rep number 1 doing? How is sales rep number 2 doing? How is sales rep number 3 doing? By so doing, you're going to comfortably intercept in case something is going wrong, because there are scenarios where someone's month just starts off wrong and they are off, and by you just looking at the data of their CRM, you can quickly pick that off and know that, you know what, this person honestly is not okay. And that's what you leverage to go to a sales rep and actually ask them, what is the problem, what issues are you facing? And the fourth thing is you need to understand that the data is always right. You talking to people sometimes does not give you proper context of what exactly is happening. So it's important that, first of all, understand what the data is saying, then combine that to what the person is saying. So it will give you a whole lot more context on what exactly is happening overall. So yes, those are the main do's and don'ts of sales analytics. Don't, for those of you who need this document, don't worry, it will be automatically shared to each and everyone that has attended this webinar. It will be made available so you can still reference that. So at whatever point you meet us, it will be made available. So yes, now to the most interesting thing of what are the metrics that we actually need to be tracking. So the way we broke this down is we kind of broke down what the sales process is like and shared what exactly do you need to be tracking at that level. So the first level of every sales cycle, at least most of the time, is prospecting. Prospecting is where you're going to get leads from for your business. We already did another video on how do you prospect. So if this is something you're interested in, you could as well check out our YouTube channel. The content is already readily available. But to give you a bit of context, prospecting is, I need leads to sell to this month. Where am I going to get these leads? Are we running adverts to bring the leads to us, or are we using Google, Instagram, or any of these other platforms for us to go and hunt and get the leads? So under that section, the main leads that you need to be looking at are, number one, how many leads have we acquired? This is a no-brainer. It means, like I mentioned earlier, every sales rep tends, on average globally, the closure rate is about 9.3%. So meaning, if you have talked to, say for example, 20 people, you should anticipate, give or take, one to be closed, regardless of how good or how shitty a salesperson you are. That is the global average. Meaning, if you're talking to 100 people, the qualified leads, if you're talking to 100 qualified leads, you should as well anticipate about 9 or 10 people within that given month. So it's important that you track this independently and get to understand, if you have, say, 5 reps, each of these reps, how many new leads are they bringing in? Because it gives you context of what you anticipate for them to close at the end of the month. Then the second thing you need to track is the source of these leads. For every new lead that you get, literally quote and know that, you know what, this source came via LinkedIn ads. This lead came via Google. This one came via YouTube. Why you need to be tracking this data is because at the end of the day, when you're making business decisions of which platforms led to more leads, this is what you benchmark on. This is the kind of data you pull out and said, you know what, we actually got 80 leads coming in from YouTube. At the end of the funnel, you can still track and see, of these leads that came in from YouTube, how many of them gave us business? Yes, we got this number of leads from LinkedIn. Of these guys who came in from LinkedIn, how many of them translated into actual business? Yes, so the second metric you need to track is the sources of the leads. The third metric you need to be tracking as a must is the lead acquisition cost. Because every time you get a lead, there is an amount of money that is being spent. That amount of money could be in terms of how much you're spending in line with the adverts. Say you've paid for lead ads on Facebook, or you've paid for lead ads on Instagram. Literally track and know, you know what, each lead is costing us $4, $5, $6. It goes a long way towards helping you understand the cost, the mathematics behind how much each and every person is costing you. So even if it's free and you're reaching out to people via cold calls, the cold calls are still going to cost you money, because there's airtime on the phone. So track and know that, okay, per funnel, here is how much we are spending to acquire each and every lead. And for those that don't know, a lead really is someone who could possibly be a client. You haven't yet verified that they're going to buy from you. It's just a lead. So the more you can get, the better. Like I said, make sure these are as qualified as possible. Get 100, and out of those 100, make sure they are really in whatever you're doing. Just like us who are hosting this, we know that this is a webinar for sales reps. So whoever is attending this is a sales rep. So if we get 100 people, it means it gives us context of we have 100 people that are interested in what we're doing. So yes, now the second phase most of the time is what they call the follow-up phase. Meaning after you have initiated conversations with prospects for the first time, you're going to need to follow up. Now, these are some of the metrics you need to be tracking at this phase. The first metric is what they call the lead to contact conversion ratio. Keep in mind that a lead is someone you could possibly imagine wants to be a customer, but you haven't yet validated that they want to be a customer. Then after you've sent them maybe one email, had one phone call, then they establish that, you know what, actually we are considering purchasing from you. That is when you convert them from a lead to a contact. This is actually freely available in the MonkeyPesa CRM. You can literally convert a lead into a contact, and you know that, okay, now this person has upgraded, they have gone a level higher. It's important you convert, you track that, because you need to know that number one, we had 100 leads, but of these 100 leads this month, about 40 were the ones who established actual interest in purchasing one of our products. So yes, by the way, guys, you can leave a message in case you have any questions that you want to throw in. You can still use the Q&A section, so that if there's anything you need me to slow down on, give more context, I'm freely available to just explain this a bit more and give you better context of how exactly to track that. So the second follow-up phase metric you need to be tracking is how many contacts are in our pipeline, because sometimes you have too many people in your pipeline and you have left them there for too long. You really want to keep your pipeline as lean as possible. Make sure people are moving through different stages of your pipeline. So go through and track and keep updating this and updating that. So just get context of how this given rep, how many people do they have in their pipeline? This other rep, how many people do they have in their pipeline? The third is, of course, the average time taken to follow up. For those in B2B sales, which I'm sure many of you are, we understand that it's important to track how long it's taking you to close each sale. What happens, for example, is take an example for us at MonkeyPesa. We know that each sale on average takes about 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So literally from inception, begin tracking that, you know what, this is when I started talking to this person. How long has it taken for us to get the sale out of them? Why this is important is it gives you proper context of, on average, how long should we expect to pursue a lead. And by just understanding that, you get a lot more context on what reality you should expect at the end of the day. So yes, the third phase of this analytics is at the closing phase. What analytics should you be tracking? So the first metric is, of course, how much revenue. It's important to know. Do you know what? I've made 50 sales. Each sale is $100, so that's our $5,000. So that is the one metric that every Tom, Dick, and Harry tracks. The second is, of course, the average deal size. If you know that you have a customer who's giving you $1,000, another one is giving you 100, another one is giving you 400, get the average and understand. So on average, here's how much we make per customer. After understanding that, see if we're to grow this number of sales, how much revenue should we anticipate by the end of the day? So yes, as a default, this is also another metric that quite a number of people track. So yes, the third metric is what they call the close rate. The close rate is simply of the number of leads that we acquired this month, how many have we been able to close? For those that were here earlier, I shared the average close rate is 9%. That is the global standard. But that doesn't mean that that's what will appeal to your business. Your closure rate might be higher. Your closure rate might be lower. So get to understand that, you know what, this month, say for example, we've got 600 leads. Of these 600 leads, how many of them have been converted into contacts? And of those that have been converted into contacts, how many of them have we actually closed at the end of the day? So by just tracking that, it gives you context on if we are now to scale at the number of leads we're getting by this much more, this is what we should anticipate. That is why it's important for you to track the close rate as one of the metrics. Then the sales cycle length is literally how long are we taking to pursue a given deal. Now, this varies from business to business. There are scenarios where it's a direct product, you're selling shoes. It takes a short time. 2 days, the person has got the money. Then there are other scenarios where you're selling more expensive items. You're selling a course online, you're selling a phone that is expensive, where someone now has to take time to gather that money. So track and know that, you know what, this is when we started our sales cycle. We started today, the person said they were interested. We had a follow-up conversation, we had another follow-up conversation, and it has taken us 3 months to close this client. Which client? We are going to get this much from them. So yes, why this is important is it also gives you context of what you should expect, because you don't want to have the expectation like we're going to talk to this person and they're going to give you money tomorrow. Whereas the normal, just to give you context, the normal B2B sales cycle involves a lot of bureaucracy because their decision makers who have to be brought in. They need to talk to MD, they need to talk to head of finance. So there are too many layers. So just give yourself an understanding of us as a business. How long is this phase taking for us to actually close the customer? The next analytic you should be tracking is the customer acquisition cost. You remember earlier, I talked about the leads acquisition cost. Now, the lead acquisition cost is how much are we spending to acquire each lead. The customer acquisition cost is, yes, we got 100 leads, but to get these 100 leads, we spent, say, for example, $1,000. The customer acquisition cost now follows up to the end of the funnel. Yes, we got these 100 people, but of these 100 people, how many of them have actually given us money? Hypothetically, you've got 8 people out of the 100 people to give you money. So this metric is just to track the actual end of the value chain of these 100 guys. Yes, it cost us $1,000, but from these people, we've only gotten 8 people to pay us. So how much revenue is now coming out of each of these people that have converted at the end of the day? Why you need to track this, it's usually termed as CSA, cost of acquisition, most of the time, is it will help you determine is it even worthwhile? The amount of revenue I'm making out of each deal, is it worthwhile? Sometimes you just advertise, you're tracking that data independently, you're not tracking the data of how much it's costing you to acquire each customer, but you might even end up spending more on ads than you're going to get per customer. So you tracking that just gives you context to know that, you know what, at this given phase, no, this is not working for us, or this given channel, we spent this amount of money, here's how much revenue we've made out of that channel. By just understanding that, it makes you a bit sharp on where should we be deploying funds and where shouldn't we be deploying funds. The next metric you should be tracking is, of course, the customer life cycle, the lifetime value of each customer. At the beginning, you're tracking how much it's costing you to acquire that customer, but over the length of the customer, how much money have they given you? Some services like Monkey Pesa are monthly recurring subscription. So we track it has cost us this much to acquire you. So you've paid us month 1, you've paid us month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6. Have you fallen off at any point in time? Are there months you have stopped paying? So we make sure we track so that we understand that here is the value of you as a customer. Yes, we've got 8 customers this month, but here is the average value that each customer is bringing to the business as a whole. By you understanding this, it even gives you context of we are more than willing to spend if, say, for example, each customer we get is giving us over their lifetime $2,000 or $1,500. We could even spend up to $400, $500 just to acquire one customer. So it gives you that ease that, you know what, we now understand the data behind how much we are going to make and how much we anticipate to make, benchmarking on this data over the last period of time. So it gives you the fluidity to kind of even play around your advertising and marketing a whole lot more. It's also important to track the customer satisfaction, which is the next metric. Literally run occasional surveys and get to understand, what do customers feel about you? What are they saying? What aren't they saying? Do they want to stay with you? Are they using your platform on a continuous basis? Are they coming back to you to keep buying from you over and over again? So yes, the best way to do this is, of course, send small surveys via emails, via SMSs, which you can do through the MonkeyPesa CRM for those that are already using the infrastructure. So yes, then the final metric that you need to be tracking, like I said, don't track too many metrics that it overwhelms you. Have literally 7 to 10 metrics. Just pick out a couple that appeal to your business. These are usually the best metrics for many of the business, but I'm not saying limit yourself to this. I'm just saying this is what at least most businesses try to benchmark on. And by you, even if you chose not to use a CRM and you have an Excel sheet that is helping you track, it gives you a lot more context. So the final metric that you need to be tracking is the employee productivity. Get down to each employee, understand how many people, how many leads are they bringing, how many of those leads per rep are being converted into contacts, how many of these have deals under them, and what is the percentage of success of these deals. By you just having a dashboard that helps you visualize this, you get a whole lot more context. There are scenarios where I have gone to companies, and because they're not tracking any data, they are under the impression that this sales rep, the one who is always talking and sharing, giving, the one making people happy all the time, is the best performer. And the other one who is in the corner, always quiet, not doing anything, is the worst. But that's before they begin tracking the data. Only for them to begin tracking the data, and they're like, well, actually, this other person seated there in the corner is actually more valuable to us. But because they are not all out and shouting all the time, it gives, by you tracking this, and this can be done easily through the MonkeyPesa CRM. So by you simply tracking this, you get a whole lot more context of how best this would service. This would work for your business. So yes, in a nutshell, that you need to be tracking, but as a recommended choice, do not get overwhelmed. Choose what makes sense to you. And if you need this document, it's going to be made readily available. You can drop us a message on any of our socials or our email. You can simply download that and review this. We made sure we include some of the formulas where there was need to include the formulas. And yes, in a nutshell, those are the top metrics. Pick out 7, pick out 10, pick out whatever makes the most sense to you. But by just you beginning to track that here is where our weakness is, it gives you the context you need to know that, you know what? No, let's now begin changing this up because it no longer makes sense. By you tracking this, it opens up your brains towards what do we need to do. And this comes from a very sane point of view. The best place to be tracking such metrics is using a CRM software. And for those that weren't here earlier, MonkeyPesa provides a CRM software that you can use to track all these metrics automatically. All you need to do is add data of, you know what, this is the sale I've made. Here's what is here, so and so is being sold to this amount of money, and automatically these metrics will be made available. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go log into the MonkeyPesa dashboard and show you some of what exactly we've been coming up with for those that remain here a bit further. But yes, and one more thing, for those that are here exclusively, there's something new that we have brought to life. We have devised what they call a sales automation software. Keep in mind that out of every 100 leads that you get within the month, within that month, you're only going to get about 8 to 9. That's what the global standard is. But out of these other remaining, say 90, it does not mean that you now cut communication. Some people might have just interacted with you, but they intend to purchase from you later on in the end of the year. They maybe need a bit more convincing. They need a bit more context about you. Now, because you, the normal sales rep, might be focusing on closing these 9 reps for today, you may not necessarily put your focus on these other people who are not closing now, who might convert later. That is where sales automation comes in. What sales automation is create simple layers of automation. Maybe let me just share my screen a bit further so that I explain this with better context of what that would actually look like. So what sales automation is how do you automate your sales process? Like I communicated earlier, people need to receive continuous relevant information to you at different levels, whether they are buying from you today or whether they're buying from you 6 months down the road. So as an example, I created this test workflow. A test workflow, it could be someone has just come and made a simple inquiry, just asking about what do you do? So what the automation allows you to do is it allows you to create a layer of information and continuous information which is sent to this person over time, so that even when you're not manually sending them messages, the system is continuously sending them better context of information about what you do. It's sending them SMSs, it's sending them emails, it's sending them social messages, and it's automatically created by your team, and whoever you want to add into this system will automatically be sent a message at whatever time you choose for that message to be sent. As an example, we have an automation for every person that signs up into our system. As an example, whenever you sign up into the MonkeyPesa, we know that we have to send you a welcome email. After about 3 days, we are going to send you more information about, you know what, we are available to help. If you want to reach out to us, here is the contact information of how you can possibly reach out to us. After about 4-5 days, we have to send you another email of, you know what, your subscription is about to expire. If there's any information you need from us, if you'd like to organize a demo, you can simply do that. So what happens is sales automation helps us, you create this journey at once. So for every new person that comes, you automatically just add them to this journey and it triggers the same messages. So whether someone signs up today, whether they sign up tomorrow, whether they sign up in December or the other year, all they will do is just keep receiving messages and emails and whatever they need to receive in the pattern that you choose for them to receive, without you necessarily doing it manually as a sales rep. So what this does is it enables you even tap into those other customers that you may not have necessarily wanted to focus on because they don't want to convert at this point in time. So if you would like to know more about this, we're holding a webinar about how to use marketing automation and sales automation for your business. This will be early next month. I will send you a link of where you can subscribe so that we can notify you once that is available. And we are launching this next week. So if you would like to know more, simply just drop me an email on kenneth@monkeypesa.com. And I'll be able to take you through and show you how this could become your 8th and 9th and 10th sales rep that does for you a lot of the work that many of your sales reps may not be in position to do because they're human beings, whereas this is a robot. It will just do exactly what you tell it to do whenever you want it to get done. But that's all from us folks today. Like I had earlier said, this will be made available on video. So if you want to rephrase and revisit any of this, it will be made available. Even the resource that we shared right here should be made available. That's all from me today, folks. I'm going to give it 2 minutes so that if you have any questions for me, you can simply just drop it in the Q&A section. I will be in position to revert to that. But that's all from me today, folks. So I've just received a question of what is the pricing of the software. So the smallest package is $9. I mean $19.99 per user per month, which is the equivalent of about $20. This is usually for Teams, and whatever functionality we provide, it's available across all packages. What limits your usage is literally which package you're on. As an example, if you're on the $19.99 package, you can only access 5 automations in a month as an organization. So if you want to upgrade that to 20 automations, then you will need to be on the next package. So yes, the pricing is available on monkeypesa.com/pricing. That is where you can access that. So yes, I've just only seen one question. If there aren't any other questions, that's all from me, folks, today. Bye-bye. We'll see you on the next one.